Well, it's 2021. There's a lot changed in the world. Trump is no longer the president of the United States of America. The whole world and the states collectively had a huge sigh of relief around midday Eastern time yesterday. But one thing hasn't changed is that it's me and me mate Mahona back with another sports podcast for 2021. How are you, mate? How'd you get through the festive season?
Oh, mate, we've had a few things go on, but nothing stopped me watching the sport, mate. There's so much great sport on, and it's great to see you again for another great edition of the Hot Air Sports Podcast, coming in louder and liver and louder than ever before here in 2021. We're living in the future, mate. And finally, the orange guy has disappeared off the earth. I think he's going to start his own TV station or something like that. And we've got Joe Biden in the White House, a nice safe pair of octogenarian, well, not quite, but older hands. And at least he sounds presidential, doesn't he, mate? We all felt a little bit better about the world collectively yesterday.
Yeah, so I've got a few friends over in America, and oh boy, they're a lot happy campers now than they were, a few days ago. So
absolutely. We don't talk a lot of politics, do we, mate? But yeah, but that's something worth talking about, and just a bit more of a smile on our face today. Although one of the things that has changed this year, along with the presidential race, is our beloved Liverpool. We've just finished watching them lose for the first time since 2017 at Anfield. They've lost 1-0 to Burnley.
Yep.
It was an awful performance, and it's just a continuation of everything we've seen this year. Over 400 minutes without a goal for our beloved Reds. I don't quite know what's going on. What do you say?
Well, I think we'll save that for a bit later in the podcast.
Yeah, we need to calm down a little bit.
If I talk about it now, I might say some things that I might regret. So
your head might explode. Yeah.
Quite right. Right.
So frustrating.
Anyway, we've been watching a bit of cricket over the summer.
Oh, yeah, it's cricket season.
Yeah, the Kiwis have had a good summer at home, winning all four tests, the Windies and Pakistan. Top of the Test rankings.
Woohoo!
Second in the World Test Championship table, and could be headed for Lords in June or July for the grand final. We don't know.
Man.
At this stage, it could be against India. I think I'd far rather play India and England than I would Australia. But how good's Test cricket at the moment?
It is so bloody good, mate. It is so bloody good. Both tests that we've seen recently, the New Zealand series against Pakistan, and of course Australia and India, coming down to the fifth day. They want to change it to 4 days. Well, just don't. I mean, look what's happened. It is the most. I mean, you and I have always been, we're suckers for Test cricket because we've been brought up with it. But even if you wouldn't, it'd be so easy to, even if you just like the hit and giggle stuff of the 2020, which the smashes and the dashes and the crashes playing tonight. I mean, I just lose track of all the 2020. But when it comes to Test matches, it's the real stuff, isn't it, mate? And you can just it's just such a great sport. There's just so much in it. There's so much tactics. There's pitch conditions. There's 5 days of changeable weather conditions.
Yep.
And it's just the ultimate test for a player. And I just love Test cricket. I absolutely love it. And I love the fact that we've finally got a World Series or something going on. I know it's a little bit hard to track exactly who's winning and who's where on the table because of the COVID situation, really, because we're not playing as many tests. So we're looking for percentages and all that. But at least there's something on every test. Even if it's a lost series, at least every test there's something on it. And I've just absolutely loved it, mate. And what I've loved even more is the Aussies getting a little bit of their own back on them, eh? It's just been brilliant.
We'll talk about them in a minute, but good things. Kane Williamson, number one batsman in the world. What a summer he's had. 2 double centuries and a century in the 3 tests that he played. Just an amazing season for him. And right in the middle of it, became a dad as well. So a big 2020-2021 season for Kane Williamson. And
the great thing about Kane, mate, is he just never looks like getting out, does he? He just looks he's just a phenomenal player. And obviously he had close to 6 months off with because of COVID, etc.
Yep.
So, he deserves that number one ranking for just the sheer amount of runs. I have seen on a number of the message boards on social media, etc., a lot of the Australians and the Indian fans are hoeing in on Kane Williamson, saying he doesn't do it outside New Zealand. Don't know how exactly he's supposed to do it outside New Zealand at the moment. I mean, what's he supposed to do? Travel to COVID hotspots? No. It's not going to happen at the moment. So, for me, obviously, Steve Smith with his strange style is an interesting batsman, and his numbers are incredible. Kohli, fantastic player, but of course, he went home for the birth of his child as well. And then the Indians picked up their game. So, for me, I don't reckon you can really argue. You look at the numbers as a whole, you probably think Steve Smith is ahead. But in the last 12 months, Kane Williamson has to be the number one batsman in the world, surely.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And he's so humble with it. You look at the way he celebrates centuries as against the clowns of Warner and Smith that, jump up and down like they've won an Olympic gold medal and carry on like just absolute killers.
He's a humble champion, isn't he, mate? He's the Richie McCaw of cricket for New Zealand, isn't he?
Good comparison. Good comparison. Another humble champion, Tim Southee, picked up his 300th Test wicket against Pakistan. Where do you reckon he ranks overall amongst Kiwi Test cricket bowlers?
Yeah, that's a real tough question because, I mean, probably a couple of years ago, I was sort of the opinion that Tim Southee had probably run it, had his dash, done his dash.
New Zealand.
Yeah, he was. Its pace had slowed down considerably. He just didn't look as probing. He just didn't. I don't know whether he had it in him, whether he had the motivation in him. But now he seems to have. Maybe it's the break or whatever. But he's really refreshed his career. He's just got some beautiful subtleties about his bowling, and he just seems to be getting better and better as he gets older. A little bit like Hadley, really. I mean, I hasten, to mention him in the same sentence, but he does. He's just a little bit wider on the crease here, a couple of little grips and change of pace, little subtleties that he does to his game. He's just improved so much. And 300 Test wickets, mate. I remember when Richard Hadley got the 300 Test wickets. Was it Alan Border? I think was his 300th Test wicket. Were you?
Yeah.
Oh, really? Oh, fantastic. And we probably thought back then, oh my God, no one's ever going to get here for New Zealand again. And to think that Southee's done it with the sort of average he's done over the career he's had, I've just got nothing but respect for that man. He'd definitely be in the top 10. Don't know whether he'd squeak out top 5, but I mean, for longevity and the amount of wickets he's got and the way he's getting better and better, he has to be right up there, doesn't he?
Oh, absolutely. I've got him in my top 5. I think he's
there you go.
He's right up there. I think he's rediscovered himself in the last year or so. He's not trying to bowl fast.
No.
I mean, he never was a fast bowler. Even in his younger days, he was always around the mid to high 130s. Now he's sort of mid to lower 130s.
Yep.
He reminds me a lot of Glenn McGrath throughout his career. Just in the last couple of years, McGrath was never a quick bowler. Even in his younger days, he was always around the 133, 134, 135. But like McGrath, Southee, just as you say, does little different things. He can be accurate when he wants to be accurate, and he can, as you say, go from wide of the crease or, right in the line with the stumps and just do different things and even throw the odd quicker ball in every now and then that, gets up to the late 130s. Doesn't happen very often, but he's just got more control over the ball than he ever has done. And I think that's why he's just been able to continue to pick up wickets.
Absolutely. And he bowls to a plan so well, patience. I mean, that's something in Test cricket, isn't it? Patience, I mean, with all the 2020 and stuff, I mean, he bowls sometimes to a 2, 3, 4 over plan. He's just out swing. The batsman thinking, oh, well, this is all he's bowling. And then all of a sudden, in swinger, it's like, he's a fantastic bowler. Nothing but respect for Tim Southee. Although I still get very frustrated when he comes into bat, mate. I still think he could do a lot better as a batsman. But there you go.
Yes, and just talking about, I was there on when he made his Test debut and picked up 7 wickets against
England.
That was an amazing day's cricket at Plain Park.
And still his top scorer in Test cricket, I think.
I wasn't there for that, but I definitely saw the 7 wickets in the first innings, and I thought, crikey, we've got a new kid on the block here. Anyway, crossing the Tasman, and
what about? Hang on, before we get there, before we get there, mate. Speaking of new cricketers on the block, there's another one. There's another Kiwi cricketer, a brand new guy on the block. His name's Kyle Jamieson. You may have heard of him. Big KJ. He's about 10 foot tall. He bowls pretty quick, and he's taken 36 wickets in his first 6 tests, including 11 wickets in that test against Pakistan. He's averaging about 50 or 60 with the bat, mate. How good is Kyle Jamieson going?
He's a freak, that boy.
He is.
Yeah, he's just had an amazing start to his life as an international cricketer. I mean, he's performed well in one days and T20s as well. So no complaints about the form of Kyle Jamieson, and he's going the other way from Tim Southey. He's actually picked up his pace this year.
He has.
He first arrived on the scene. He was sort of late 120s, early 130s, and now he's bumped it up to late 130s, even into the 140s on the odd occasion. And with that height, it's just like having Joel Garner there.
I know. It's like having an Aussie in the New Zealand team, isn't it? Because I've always got those big, tall bounce bowlers, Mitchell Stark and Hazelwood, etc. And we've got one now. We've got a big guy that can play. So Kyle Jamieson, mate, he'll have to be in the team for the next decade. What a player!
Quite right. Yes, Stark and Pat Cummins and Josh Hazelwood didn't do very well over the last few days, did they? With India B humbling Australia 2-1 after they lost it. They got absolutely thumped in the first test, all out
36. Yeah, shame.
They've turned it around, won the test in where was the second test? In can't remember now.
Melbourne.
First one was in Adelaide.
Melbourne.
Must have been in Melbourne, and then
Boxing Day.
Yep, Boxing Day test. Drew in Sydney. Those last day heroics.
And then the Aussies said, wait till you get to Brisbane, mate. Wait till you get to Brisbane. Well, the Indians waited till they got to Brisbane, and then the Aussies watched them do the victory lap at the end.
Quite right. The Gabba hoodoo broken. The first loss to Australia there in over 32 years. But like Liverpool losing their home record. But anyway, and of course, during the series, of course, we saw the Australian team reverting to type with their third test sledging, which come back to bite, especially Captain Tim Payne on the arse.
Absolutely. And wasn't it funny? The thing is with the sledging, isn't it, mate? You don't need to sledge when you're winning, When you're smashing everyone, it just seems so easy. And we go, no, we've turned over a different leaf, mate. We're a different sort of team now. We don't sledge anymore. We just beat everyone. And then, then they get a couple of close results and the pressure comes on. And then what do? They revert to type, start sledging everyone, bouncing the tail enders as well, which was pretty horrible to see, actually. Some of the deliveries that were going on there towards the Indian tail enders. And then when they got a bit back, they didn't like it. They don't like getting a little bit back. It's the bully doesn't like it when they get bullied. And they just couldn't stop themselves, could they? And Labuschagne's going, come on, mate, come on, this guy's shit, mate, come on. And even his teammates, even Tim Payne told Labuschagne to shut up.
Well, then you got Matthew Wade at leg.
He's just a grunt, Matthew Wade.
Broken rib.
I know. Matthew Wade.
Just, as I say, reverting to Titan. And good to see Greg Chappell write an open letter to Tim Payne in the Sydney Morning Herald, just telling him to learn from his mistakes like he did 40 years ago.
I don't think he's going to have a chance to learn from his mistakes, mate. I think Tim Payne and Matthew Wade are gone, Big. I don't think they're going to play for Australia again. I can't see why you would put them in. I mean, they're both fairly average to me. I mean, Wade shouldn't be there. I just don't think he's good enough. Tim Payne, he's just an average wicketkeeper, really. Yeah. Doesn't score enough runs. So, and he's the captain. I don't know. I mean, obviously they had to go to their third or fourth captain because the first captain, we know what happened to him. And Steve Smith as well. Honestly, I mean, the guy that got, done for the sandpaper gate, spent a year out of the game because of it. They give him the Cricketer of the Decade award. What an absolute disgrace. I mean, how can you give it, for a game that holds itself up as being the gentleman's game, we've got these unwritten rules of etiquette. Steve Smith has shat all over those, and yet they give him that award. I mean, I just cannot understand. Surely Kane Williamson or someone like Coley even would have been a better bet for the way that they hold the game up, and then the way that he tried to rub out the guard when Richard Pant was batting as well. I mean, and then they tried to claim it. Oh no, that's a mountain out of a molehill.
Always does that.
Oh, he does it all the time, mate. If you watch him all the time, he does it. I'm like, what are you? That just and the way that the commentators always try and defend everything that the Australians do. They can't just call us.
Notice on that watching that last day or the last 2 days, the test in Brisbane, Shane Warne was really getting stuck into them about their tactics. He was really, I mean, no man on the offside for Pujara when they were bowling short. Nathan Lyon bowling a completely wrong line. I mean, this guy's got 700 test wickets, and he he might be a clown, but he still knows what he's talking about.
Oh no, Shane Warne. Yeah, of course. Look, Shane Warne, take him or leave him, mate. What's he doing?
I know, but I'm just pointing out the fact that he was really getting
stuck.
Well,
they had to. I mean, they were playing they weren't playing well. I mean, I think you got to call a spade when you're not playing well. And what did you think when you got down to the 5th day, mate? Did you think the Indians had a chance? I thought they had a chance, but I really thought there was going to be a draw. I just could not see. Yeah. I've seen enough Test cricket to think you don't get 300 on the final day, regardless. And that pitch was doing it. I mean, okay, it wasn't that bad, but there were cracks in it. The Aussie bowlers should have been fresh. I really thought probably Australia had about a 20% chance, maybe India had a 10% chance, and it was a 70% draw. But the way the Indians batted, and especially the wicketkeeper, Rishabh Pant, man, what a player. What a player. How quick are those guys, his hands? Yeah. He's like Brendan McCullum, mate. He's just a fantastic player. And also just mentally, that guy just mentally I suppose it's the new generation, people like us, whenever I just stress about stuff, and he just seems to just not have a care in the world when he bats. And after getting out for 90 odd in the previous test when he could have won that one as well for them. I was
going to say, if had he not got out in that test, they probably would have won that one.
Probably would have. And, that would be something that would, someone our age would probably linger with, oh, God, I had the chance, I didn't do it. But he just came out and batted exactly the same way and won it for them the next time. So he averages something like 70 in the final dig of test matches. Just an absolutely fantastic performance, and good on the Indians. So what needs to happen now is for the Indians to basically not lose by a lot to England. Is that right?
Yep.
And then Australia to basically lose at least one test or not win the test series against South Africa. Now, it looks like the Australian series may not go ahead because of COVID.
Correct.
I'm not sure. So if that's the case, all we need is India to do a job on England and we'll make the final. So
absolutely.
So go the Indians. And
Quite
then,
right.
and then,
Quite right.
and then we owe everyone, the world cricket, a win at Lords in a final, don't we?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
How are we gonna cope with 5 days of Test cricket from Lords? I mean, you and I will be doing the podcast. It's just gonna be, mate, sleep deprivation. That's gonna be crazy.
Yes. We'll have to see what happens closer to the time on that one.
Yeah, totally. I love the cricket. Love the Test cricket, mate. It's been absolutely great. I haven't been watching any 2020 though.
Just want to touch on Sophie Devine picking up a T20 100 the other day.
That's right.
6 balls. And picking up her 100, she actually hit a young girl on the head with a ball on the bank at the in Dunedin. And after the game, went over and checked that she was all right, gave her a T-shirt and checked in on that. But Sophie Devine, what an absolute superstar with the bat.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. I don't want to come across wrong here, but she plays like a man. She does. She plays when she's batting. I mean, she can hit the ball like a guy. She can. And that's what I want to see. I want to see more of that. I mean, when I used to watch a lot of the women's cricket, they're in the boundaries, and it just wasn't as fast. Yeah. Now the players, it is evolving as a sport, and I really notice it's sped up a lot. And so congratulations to her. What an innings. That was fantastic.
Quite right. Oh, well, on to the round ball code.
Do we have to?
Bigger round ball. We have to. And before we get on to our beloved Liverpool, the Premier League seems to be back to its best this season with 9 different leaders in the season so far. Looks like a throwback season. And the points tally will probably of around the 70s will probably be the Premier League. which is quite incredible given the last few years where teams have been approaching 100. You know,
in the 90s. Yeah.
And I mean, even in the 90s is a massive points tally. But yeah, it could be somebody in the mid to late 70s this time.
Absolutely. Well, what's the difference, mate? What's the difference this year? COVID. That's the difference. No crowds in the stadium. I mean, that initially, I think when they all came back and there was games like 7-2 and 6-4, all these crazy, that's all just completely settled down, especially Liverpool. And yeah, I mean, so teams like Liverpool not having a crowd in the ground, that must make a huge difference, especially when we played Manchester United. I mean, that is the one team when they come to Anfield, they get it. It's like a goal advantage for us. So they must have absolutely loved coming to Anfield with no people there. It has made such a big difference. I know the schedule leading up to Christmas was basically about the same. Everyone's going, well, basically it's the same amount of games as they played last year. Yeah, but what you've got to look at is the way that the last season finished and the way that this one started. They didn't have the same gap, so none of them were fit enough. And now they've basically continued all that Christmas period right the way through January, and it's going to go through February as well. 2 games every week. It just doesn't stop unless you've got a big team to cover it. So look, there's going to be lower teams beating higher teams, draws going on where they wouldn't have been draws. It's just a completely different season. I just think maybe the responsible thing to do because of the COVID situation will be to null and void the whole season. And let's just come back next year. Okay,
right.
Liverpool, we'll hold the trophy nice and safe in Anfield. We'll just keep it there. We'll keep it polished and everything, and then we'll bring it out next year. Let's just null and void it now, right now. Right thing to do. It's the right thing to do.
They're obviously not going to do that. So who are the title contenders and who are the pretenders?
Well, mate, that's hard. That's a hard one because, I mean, when you look, 11 teams have been up the top. You'd have to say Liverpool are still a contender. Manchester United are now contenders, the way that they're playing. I know it hurts me to say it. Manchester City, they are absolutely flying at the moment. They have to be contenders. Tottenham, teetering, but they're still around there. They're still hanging around. Leicester, wow, the football they're playing. They were top of the table just a couple of days ago. So that's at least 5 teams. And then you've got teams like Arsenal, who have definitely improved. I mean, they will be fighting for European places, probably not the title, but they're probably pretenders. But you got teams like Arsenal, and you got a few other teams as well that are doing very well, like Everton. Who would have thought that? And even West Ham.
So incredible teams up in that top 10. Southampton are another one. They've held the top spot this season.
Absolutely.
So who's to say that they won't challenge? But yeah, I think. I'm just looking at our predictions at the beginning of the season.
Go on.
We had Liverpool winning with Man City. Well, I had Man City second, Spurs third, and Chelsea fourth.
Okay.
So there's no Man United in there.
No. And you've got Chelsea, who we didn't even mention.
Yeah, well, they're
not doing that great. Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah.
Who did I say? I think I had Liverpool, Manchester City.
We had the same 4.
Yeah, very similar. I think now, for me, I would say Manchester City are the favourites. I would say that just the way they're playing, and they've sorted out their backline problems, which last year was their problem. I mean, when they lost Vincent Kompany, they couldn't stop scoring. They couldn't stop goals going in, and so they got the odd draw, much like we're having now. So yeah, Manchester City for me would be my favourites to win it. I would say that I would hope that we are probably still up there to challenge them and maybe come second. And then you've got like 5 or 6 teams that could be third and fourth. Leicester, I think I might have had Leicester as my 4th team. I'm going to have them in the top 4. I think they're playing really well. And when you look at their team, they've got quality in all positions, Yeah,
so, look at the way they fell away last year.
I know.
They were in second place a month or so before COVID hit, and they ended up 5th.
They are one of those teams, though, that goes on a run and then hits a bit of a trough, And to be fair, every team has had those peaks and troughs this year,
we're going through now. Liverpool are going through now what Manchester City and Manchester United went through at the beginning of the season.
That's right.
No difference. And Chelsea are going through the same thing. I mean, they started off with a hiss and a roar.
That's right.
You know, and
can we just get to,
yeah,
can we just get to February already? Sorry, what'd you say?
£220 million investment.
Oh yeah.
You know, maybe it's better that Timo Werner and Kai Havertz went to Chelsea rather than coming to Liverpool.
Yeah, you can say that. You can say that. I think they would have been completely different propositions at Liverpool, though, with someone like Jurgen Klopp as coach and the way he would have had them playing. I think, especially Kai Havertz, he's been a real disappointment at Chelsea. Werner he just looks one-dimensional at the moment. He just sort of runs head down a little bit like Mo Salah, sort of running flat tack. If there's someone in front of him, he just runs into him. But, you know, he's still a goal scorer. I think those guys will come right. I think they've got a bit of adapting to do to the Premier League, to be fair. They've come from the Bundesliga. They'll come right. Whether it's for Chelsea, who knows? I think they would have been different propositions for Liverpool, though. I'll tell you who Liverpool's been missing, though, is Diego Jota, mate. He just looked absolutely amazing.
Absolutely.
And him getting injured was just such a critical loss for us.
And the thing that bugs me about that injury was that he was playing in a game that he didn't really need to be playing in. You know, it was
a Champions League game, wasn't it?
Champions League against the Danish side, Midtjylland. We'd already qualified. I think we'd already won the group too by that stage. And they played him, and there was one other who got injured. Tsimikas got injured in that game. But I mean, he was always going to play that game. But yeah, I think that injury could come back to haunt us. I mean, obviously the biggest thing that Liverpool's missing, and to still be amongst the leaders despite the massive injury issues that they've had, Virgil van Dijk is obviously the biggest loss, and not just for his defensive capabilities. Liverpool are not conceding goals. Defense is not the problem. Doesn't really matter who they've got, whether it's Fabinho and Matip, or whether it's youngsters Reece Williams or Nat Phillips, or even Jordan Henderson playing in the back four. And that did my head in today, hearing that he's come up with a muscle injury. I was so looking forward to having him back in the midfield today with Matip coming back. So anyway, but yeah, I mean, yeah, we're still in there. Liverpool is still in there. So I was just had a couple of messages from my good mate PC.
Of course you did. I've had a couple as well from
the game. And
I've had a couple.
As he quite rightly said, it's certainly not over yet.
No, it's not. It's one of those seasons, mate. It's not going to be run away with. If it is run away with, I would say that it would be Manchester City that runs away with it. But I think every team's going to suffer more injury. It's just going to be one of those seasons. I'll tell you what, mate. As a neutral, it's bloody good to watch. It's not the same as the normal season, so it's just hard for us at the moment.
Yeah. One of the old faces from the Premier League is back, Sam Allardyce, with
Samuel Allardyce.
With West Bromwich Albion playing that familiar 10-1-0 formation. He's never been relegated from the Premier League. Is this season going to be different?
I think it is going to be different. Sorry, Sam, you're going down, mate. I can't see how he's going to pull this. I don't know why they got rid of Slaven Bilic, to be fair. I mean, obviously, he must have said something to the owner or something, I reckon, because he was doing okay. They drew with Manchester City the week before he got sacked. It's just that when you look at the West Brom team, man, they just don't look like a Premier League team. You look at the names and they just don't have the players. So I just don't know how Sam's going to do it. If he does do it, he'll be even more of a legend. But I saw he brought in Robert Snodgrass. He's looking for players like that. I think he'll bring in, make a bid for Carroll. I'm sure he's looking for some big guy out the front to lump it to. He's just playing that same old style. He's just a grizzled old dude, isn't he? And I mean, as much as I dislike him, he's a bit like the Burnley coach, Sean Dyche. He's just a grizzled old Brit who just knows how to get things done. Knows how to get things done.
Did my head in when we drew with them 1-1.
Absolutely.
Behind the ball and scored on a poxy free kick that should never have been awarded. Anyway, go into that. We did pick our relegation favourites at the beginning of the season.
Yes.
I had West Brom, Fulham, and Brighton.
I had West Brom and Fulham.
Yeah, and I think you had Burnley.
Well, I'm wrong there.
Favourite, but I think because we both thought that
Sheffield would be able to
come right. Well,
yeah,
they did come right last week and won their first game of the season, but since then they got thrashed by Spurs last week.
And they lost in the cup too to some lower team. Poor old Sheffield, they're going down. But I hope they don't sack their manager.
He's quite a character.
He is.
Yeah. I'll let you move on to the referees.
Yeah. Well, Mark Clattenburg. I mean, he was a twit when he was refereeing.
Good old
Some of his comments that he's made in the last week about being intimidated by Alex Ferguson into giving Manchester United favourable referee decisions when he was a ref. He actually said, I was the only guy brave enough to give 3 penalties against Manchester United at Old Trafford, but that was when Moyes was there. That's what he said. That was when Moyes was there. I would never have done it when Alex Ferguson was there. I'm like, oh my God, it doesn't say much for impartiality, does it? I mean, he's basically saying what we all knew about Alex Ferguson in the 90s and noughties, mate, that he intimidated referees, and made them give decisions his way. It's just a disgraceful comment, really, as far as, I mean, Clattenburg, he might be thinking that, but how can you say that? It's just shut up. I mean, it basically is just saying what we always thought, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. And just this morning, I noticed when they announced the teams to play, Liverpool and the Burnley side, Burnley started a game with 9 Englishmen in the side, which is just totally strange in the Premier League. And
have they changed the rules? Are you only allowed a certain amount of foreign players in Burnley or something? Is it like the Yorkshire cricket team?
Yeah. And the only the only non-Englishman was an Irishman and a Kiwi.
Yeah. There you go. Well, you know, Sean Dyche likes his wasps. Yes. He likes the Anglo-Saxons. That's the sort of football we play. Hey.
We're Burnley.
That's right. And then you did say early in the second half he brought on a Dutchman. Whoa. It's getting a bit cosmopolitan, isn't it?
Yes, and then he brought on an Icelandic.
Whoa! So long as they're from the continent, it's okay. I know, from the continent. Yeah. I bet you he voted for Brexit. Oh.
Absolutely. Mentioning the Kiwi Chris Wood there, another Kiwi, former Phoenix star, Liberato Cacace, with a move to Juventus. From Belgian side St. Truden. Imagine seeing him tackling Sarpreet Singh in a few years to come when Juve play Bayern Munich.
Wouldn't that be awesome? This guy, though, super talented. He could go all the way. We've said it from the start. He's been a man-child. I mean, I think he played his first game for the Phoenix as a 17-year-old, something like that. But he looked mid-20s then.
He'd been shaving for 5 years by then.
Yeah, exactly. But he can play. He can play all right, and he's going straight to the top. If he doesn't go to Juve, he won't stay with that Belgian side for too long. He will definitely. He's definitely headed for the upper echelons of the European leagues. Great player, and of course, left backs. Not all leagues are flush for left backs. You know, exactly. Good position to play if you're looking to play for a big side.
And just on a side note, I see Sarpreet Singh has been playing regularly for Stuttgart in the Bundesliga B. He's getting regular game time, and by all accounts, doing pretty well. So it's a good sign for him.
Absolutely. I haven't seen him seen any of the games, but Stuttgart aren't doing too bad either. They're middle of the table, around middle lower half. But I mean, they're not going to get relegated by the looks of things. So he must be doing some good things. So good on Sarpreet. I mean, once again, just so much young talent playing football in this country, and it's great to see them doing it overseas.
Absolutely. And the A-League's underway. And
it is.
MacArthur Bulls are leading the way. The Phoenix host Newcastle and Wollongong this weekend. And so far, they've had a loss to Sydney and a draw with the Bulls in the opening 2 rounds. How do you see them going?
Yeah. The Phoenix?
Yeah.
Okay, well, the first 2 games, I watched both those games, and I was really impressed. I like the style they're playing. They're pinging it around. They seem to have confidence in one another. They know who's doing what job. They seem organised, disciplined, and they play some attractive football. I really like the style they're playing and how they're playing. The one thing they're not getting at the moment is a fair rub from the refs. just some absolutely shit decisions, if you'll excuse the French. Just some terrible. It's like watching the Warriors. It's like you think, my God, there's some bias going on here. If it's not bias, it's just incompetency. But it seems funny how the incompetency always seems to go against the Kiwi sides. No. Oh, shall we get onto that? That was just crazy. I don't know whether our listeners saw this, but Alex Rufer basically got taken out with a really nasty challenge from the opposition. He grabbed his leg, and it was like he sort of stretched his leg out as he fell. And the opposition player, knowing what he did, almost sort of went, "Oh, you've hit me straightening your leg.
You kicked out."
So he gave him a yellow, I think, initially, didn't he? And then the VAR said, "No, you better go and have a look at that." And I thought, oh, he might be actually going to give a red card to the guy. That's great. They're going to get this right. Then he comes back after viewing it, and he gives our guy the red card. The guy that got fouled initially. It's just...
I've seen some pretty bad decisions.
That was terrible.
But that's right up there with them.
It was terrible. And we were 1-0 up at that stage and playing really well, looking like we were on our way to a win. The boys played really well, and there was still 40-odd minutes to go in that game. Yeah. They held on really well. They played good football. They made the pitch smaller and all that sort of thing, and got behind the ball, but they couldn't stop them scoring. 1-1. Was it 2-2?
1-1.
1-1. That was, it was a good result against the top of the table side, but it could have been so much more. Let's just hope it's not that sort of season where it could have been so much more. And let's hope that we're not talking about VAR too bloody often again.
Yes, quite right. I purposely avoided it when we were talking about the English Premier League.
Yeah, so, well, we have to, because this podcast can't last for a day.
Yeah, exactly.
We could just keep going on and on and on.
Favorite sport now, rugby league. From an outsider's perspective, the Warriors seem to be more ready for this season than any in recent history, with a new coach and a host of what I'm saying are big new players, not big names, big boys.
It sounds like Whitey's into it as well, mate. Is Whitey's into the Warriors, mate? Honestly, I say it tongue in cheek every year. This is our year as a Warriors fan. But honestly, I am super excited by the forward pack this year, especially the forward. We haven't had a big forward pack for a long time, even though the Aussie commentators will have you believe differently when they always say, huge Warriors forward. No, it's bullshit. We haven't had a big forward pack for a long time. We do now. We've got perhaps the best forward pack, I think, since Price and Wiki were at the Warriors. Just some great names here. Listen, this is a shadow lineup maybe for the first game. I'll go through the forwards because the forwards are where it's at. I mean, someone like Cody Nikorima and Chanel Harris-Tavita, who last year were probably on the fringes when we had Green running the cutter at 5'8". They are going to have a lot more time to do things this year with a forward pack like this. So the props are Adam Whanua-Blake, who played Origin last year and is perhaps the second or third best prop in the competition. Ben Murdoch-Masila, who's come back from the UK, he's equally as big. He's a massive unit. 130
monsters, aren't they?
Big guys. And Wade Egan, who's never had a big forward pack behind him as the hooker. I really rate Wade Egan. I think he could go all the way, play Origin this year. Then in the second row, two great Kiwi talents. Tohu Harris, who was our player of the year last year. He was just fantastic, and he made the Dally M squad of the year as well. And Eli Katoa, who was our rookie of the year last year and is basically Ali Lauatiti Mark II. And then Jazz Tavanga as your lock. And then you've got Bailey Sirinen, Jermaine Tanoa-Brown, Lisa Naumau, and Kane Evans as forwards reserves. That forward pack looks good to me. They can compete with that forward pack. And then you give, the back line, Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, Fusatua, Peter Hiku, Ewan Aitken from the Dragons in the centres. Ken Mamalo comes back. And then you've got the two young halves. I just look at that side and I think that is the best Warriors side I have seen on paper for a long, long time. And the fact that we're going over to Australia again, they're going to be together, train together, get to know each other, have that as an advantage over all the other sides, even though it's, a massive sacrifice to do. It seemed to gel them together last year. I think it'll do the same this year. I am super excited, mate. Come back to me after we lose our first three games. But no, I honestly, it makes me really, really excited with the talent we've got there this year. Really excited.
Yeah, well, as I say, from an outside perspective, I'm delighted to see that they've gone over to Australia early. They've all got there. If they haven't, the families haven't arrived yet. They're going to be there. So we're not going to have hopefully not going to have the issues that we had last year with players coming home early and
doubt that will happen now.
All that shambles. So I'm hoping for a big season. And Nathan Brown, the new coach, he's got a bit of a checkered history, I guess, as a coach, but he does the game of rugby league, and I think he's probably got the confidence of the players around him from some of the work that he has done over the years. So I think it's good omens for the Warriors this year.
Absolutely, mate. Nathan Brown, he's one of those guys. For me, he's a sort of coach, he can build a roster. Look what he did at Newcastle, Okay, he hasn't got the experience of taking teams to the semifinals, all that sort of thing. But what do the Warriors need at the moment? They need to build a roster where we're competitive. We started that last year. We're doing that again this year. I think they've probably got Nathan Brown there for a 2 or 3 year position, and then they'll look to probably promote someone from lower to take over that side once he's built it up. What he did at Newcastle, he built a fantastic roster. They played semifinals this year. That was no short thing because of Nathan Brown's ability to build that team, and he's doing a great job so far this year. And also Phil Gould, man, having a little bit of knowledge in the background. I know you either love him or hate him, but my God, you can't deny the guy knows rugby league, So super excited, man, super excited. It's our year. It's gonna be the Warriors. 2021. Go the mighty Vodafone Warriors. Are we allowed to be the Vodafone Warriors anymore? I don't know. Anyway,
I don't know. Anyway, Wayne Bennett has stood down as Queensland coach. Rumours that Billy Slater might be involved in the mix, but it appears that former Cowboys coach Paul Green appears to be the favourite, with the likes of former stars Slater, Smith, Cronk, and Thurston lining up to form a coaching team.
Yeah, it's strange, the origin, the way it works with the coaches, the way they got Freddie Fittler in there. You sort of think, well, he was an average club coach and he seems to do really well in the state of origin. It's kind of strange, they promote a player who's recently retired. I mean, Fatty Vaughton did it back in the day, didn't he?
Yep.
I think the way to go, though, would be to put Green in there. I mean, you look at, what he did as his club career, and he took the Cowboys to their first championship, and he's a proud Queenslander. Why wouldn't you have a proper coach in there, someone who's actually done some coaching first, have those guys underneath, get them coaching for a couple of years and then promote them? I'm not sure, but I mean, Wayne Bennett had to stand down. I mean, the guy, he's close to 100, isn't he? I mean, I think he's coached. I read somewhere he's coached something like 800 games of rugby league.
Oh yeah,
I mean, no, those are quality games of rugby league, not just park games.
He was coaching the Broncos in the early 90s when they first
in the 80s.
In the 80s,
when they first came in 88. Yeah, so it just shows you. And before that, he was coaching in the Brisbane club competition as well.
Yeah,
he was a very successful coach there. So I mean, Wayne Bennett, I don't think that's a biggie that he stood down. And of course, you got someone like Mel Meninga who sort of oversees all that as well. I still think New South Wales for the Origin again this year, though.
Just talking north of the border, is Kevin Walters going to be able to drag the Brisbane Broncos back up the table?
Who the hell knows, mate? They've got another Payne Haas. I don't know whether you've heard about him.
Yeah, saw that.
He's got into an altercation with a police officer. That doesn't sort of bode too well, does it? No. I mean, Kevin Walters is a good coach, and he certainly knows the Broncos, and he certainly knows Queensland, but wow, he's got a bit of a Sam Allardyce job there as far as I'm concerned. You look at the roster, I don't really fancy it. He's lost some players, and if he does, well, he's really going to have to show his coaching chops. So, I wouldn't be surprised if the Broncos are sort of looking close to the wooden spoon this year, mate, which wouldn't make me too sad, to be fair.
Oh, no, absolutely.
not a fan of the Broncos.
Broncos are either one of those, you love them or you hate them, don't you?
Absolutely. They're like the Crusaders, mate. They are.
Good segue.
Yeah, go on. Rugby union. Let's get into the union. Let's get into some code, shall we? Super Rugby preseason underway. It's start is scheduled for, let's have a look here, February.
Yeah.
We're starting in February. Okay, along with are we still playing cricket then? I don't know. Are the rugby guys going to be playing cricket? What's going on? Yes, Super Rugby is in February. You happy with that?
Yeah, end of February.
End of February.
Is even better.
That's better.
In February. It's going to be another interesting season. Obviously, the Crusaders have retooled their side and are going again for the 5th in a row, I think it is, for Super Rugby. So we'll see what happens there. And they've just picked up an ex-Blue in the last couple of weeks, Rene Ranger. To play for the Crusaders, and they've also picked up Josh Mackay, who plays NPC rugby for Canterbury, but last year was with the Highlanders, and they let him go, which is really surprising because he's an explosive player. He's got Usain Bolt style pace. He's quick, man. Is he quick? So I mean, you've got to put the Crusaders in as favourites.
Is Scott Robertson still going to be the coach? I think so.
Yeah, well, he's definitely coaching.
He is. He's locked in for this.
After that, it's a wait and see job. But I think the 4 other sides, I think the Blues have gone a bit backwards in their squad
recruitment
this year. They've obviously lost Bowden Barrett. He's playing in Japan this.
Well, he didn't really play last year. Let's be honest. He only played a couple of games. I mean, I don't know. That was a strange. I mean, you sign him and then he's like, oh, he's on sabbatical. It's like, well, I don't know. Why do they sign those sorts of?
Yeah, I mean, there are some unknown players in that Blues side this year. You've obviously still got some stars, and Paddy Tuipulotu and the Ioane brothers.
The Ioane brothers, yep.
And I mean, Akira Ioane really shone in the black jersey last year. So if he can continue that form, I still think the Blues will be there or thereabouts, even without a couple of those players that they've lost. I think the Chiefs are probably going to struggle again. The Hurricanes and the Highlanders, I think they'll all be fighting it out for that 3rd final spot. So we'll remain.
Yeah, it's just a pity. It's just a pity. There's only 5 teams. I know you don't want to stretch it too thin or anything. 5 teams. It just doesn't really seem like a comp. We need. I don't know.
And then of course they have the crossover with the Australian teams later in the year. I think that's obviously dependent on a Trans-Tasman bubble being
absolutely
being finalised, and there were initial mumblings that might happen sometime around March, but I think that's been delayed with the outbreaks in Australia and of course these new strains of COVID. So bring on the vaccine, I say.
Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. Give me a little prick. Oh, yeah. I've already got one. I'm talking to him. Anyway. So
and just across the Tasman, I don't think you can go much past the Brumbies this year again. Queensland did show some improvement towards the tail end of last year, as did the Rebels played well last year and almost made their final series. But I think the Brumbies will be favoured to win that competition.
Yep. Can't argue with you there, mate. When they do those crossover games, how does that work? What's going on there? There's obviously no points being allocated for those games.
I'm not sure what they
haven't really said
doing it for fun or whether it's an active competition. But basically, each team plays 2 home and 2 away games. What
they should probably do. Why don't they just get like the winner of our one to play the winner of their one and have a grand final or something? Anyway, it's too simple. Too simple, mate. And the Lions series in South Africa also looks doubtful, mate. Possible home series or Australia, New Zealand under consideration for the Lions.
Yeah, I think what's favoured at the moment coming out of the UK is that that South Africa will play in the UK against the Lions. As it currently stands. Obviously, if the COVID situation improves in South Africa, then they'll go ahead with that tour, but it's not looking likely at the moment.
No.
But yeah.
But see, what about the COVID situation in the UK? Isn't much better. So, I mean,
it's not, is it?
So what, are they going to be going to the UK and playing in front of empty stadiums for a line? So look, why don't you just scrap it? You know what?
Yeah.
Look, they play every 4 years. Why don't you just scrap it? And if in a couple of years, we're over this COVID stuff, play it there, and then have the next Lions tour 2 years after. Why does it have to happen this year? What?
Oh, exactly. And I mean, the Chiefs would obviously love it if the Lions series got cancelled because they can get Gatlin back.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's kind of crazy, isn't it? Goran Gatlin goes from coaching the Chiefs to coaching the Lions.
But yeah, there was a rumor. I don't know whether it was started in this part of the world, but that might have been a good idea that if the Lions can't go to South Africa, why don't they come to either Australia or New Zealand? At least
why not?
Some crowds in Australia and full crowds in New Zealand. So we'll have them.
Well, some crowds in Australia, full crowds here. Well, that's a no-brainer. Come here. Hey, I mean, we owe them one after last time. I mean, how the hell they drew that series, I've still got no idea.
Yeah.
But, come over here, mate. Come over here.
Quite right.
Just have to spend a couple of weeks in a hotel before you can play.
Yeah. I'm sure they'll do that better than some tennis players. But anyway,
we'll get on to that. We'll get on to that
soon. Yeah. Stateside, let's have a look at the NBA. Kiwi Stephen Adams seems to be settling well at his new club, the New Orleans Pelicans, who had got off to a good start but have faltered in recent games. And currently you've got a 5-win, 8-loss record. So, but yeah, Stephen Adams going well. He got his first triple-double the other day.
He's playing well. He's playing his normal physical style. Of course, they've got Zion Williamson there. I actually watched them play Philadelphia yesterday. Watched the second half of that game, and they were ahead by about 8 points going into the last quarter, and they ended up losing by about 5. The final quarter, they just fell on their ass. It was terrible. They are like one of the building sides. I mean, what you've got to realize is that what the change with the big players going everywhere in the NBA. There are a few super teams now, and the New Orleans Pelicans certainly aren't one of those super teams. They have to play, at the top of their game to match up with all those guys, and their bit players have to play their part as well. But they're a bit like Kansas City were, a couple of years ago when Harden left and they didn't have really any superstars. But yeah, I mean, it's good to see Stephen Adams. It's good to see him. He's definitely progressing his game. He's definitely becoming a better player, and that's all you can hope for someone like him. He's a quality player, and he's at a good team, but they're certainly not the superstar teams that are.
Yeah, it seems to me that they've got a good starting 5.
They do.
Backup players, need to work on a bit.
Absolutely. But I think also the city of New Orleans suits Stephen Adams too. Just the style of it, the sort of the party nature. I think it goes well with him.
I saw an interview with him. It was recorded by a Kiwi journalist, Simon Hampton, who lives in New York and has a Kiwis Abroad program on Sky, and he interviewed Stephen recently, and one of the Simon was asking him, have you been out and about much in New Orleans since you've been there? And he said, well, no, not really, because as players, we're basically, if we're not at home, we're at the facility and we're playing games. And apart from that, he says, we've basically been told we have to stay at home. And
he's actually doing it, is he?
Oh,
he's actually doing what they told him to do. Wow. What a professional. Hey.
Crazy. But another Kiwi in the NBA, not a player, Sean Marks.
He was a player. He was a player.
Yeah, played San Antonio.
Yep.
Pulls off another major signing as
incredible
GM for the Brooklyn Nets, trading for James Harden from the Houston Rockets to join fellow superstars Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. And they played together for the first time yesterday and put up some big numbers, but weren't quite good enough to beat the Cleveland Cavaliers. But yeah, you talk about super teams. The Nets is a super team.
Mate, if they don't, with those 3 players, if they don't make probably the final of the NBA, there's something wrong. And if they don't win it with those guys in 2 or 3 years, Sean Marks will probably lose his job. I mean, it's just, that was a massive trade to get Harden. I mean, he is up. He was the top point scorer in the NBA last year, and you've already got Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, who both score shitloads of points as well. It's the biggest 3 since since LeBron and who was it?
Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh.
Thank you. In Miami, I think it's the biggest three since then. And they have to win. There's no, there's just no if buts and maybes about it anymore. The Brooklyn Nets have to be up there with those guys on the thing. I think how many players? How did he pull it off? I mean, he got him and he traded a couple of players to there. He got a couple of players going all over the place, weren't they? I mean,
there
I
were
think Houston
teams involved. So
yeah,
I can't remember.
I think Houston got 3 players. I think another team got a couple of players. Yeah. It's the way the NBA do their trading. They're very, very creative.
Well, it's the same in the other sports. You see, especially in baseball, you can see 3, 4, 5 team trades.
Unbelievable.
And it's crazy how player A goes to team B and team C gets player.
Sorry, you need a pitcher. Hang on, I'll pick. You're Baltimore. Yeah, you got a pitcher. Yeah, okay. Oh, you need that. Okay, we'll pick up this. Someone needs and they just get it all going. And that must seem. It must be so hard though when there's so many parties involved. But I guess if everyone's needing of something, I think that's when it. Everyone's willing to do the trade. Yeah. But super interesting. I mean, the way that's gone, but. Brooklyn better win.
Yes, well, they've got a bit of work to do because the Lakers, the Jazz, the Clippers, and the Celtics seem to be the teams to beat so far. I mean, we're only, 15 games into an 80-game season. But, those 4 teams seem to be leading the way at the moment.
Yeah, mate. Celtics, I think, lost yesterday. Clippers, good side. And, of course, they've got the MVP from a couple of years ago. I don't know much about the Jazz. Could be a sleepy one. And, of course, the Lakers, you've got, LeBron and Antonio. So, man, early days. Let's just see how it finally
Moving on to baseball, the old free agent market seems to be finally picking up. Houston's George Springer has signed a 6-year deal with the Toronto Blue Jays.
He went to the Blue Jays. That's an
re-signed DJ LeMahieu for the same length, while also picking up former Cy Young winner Corey Kluber on a 1-year deal. The Mets have been crazy as well. They picked up superstar shortstop Francisco Lindor in a trade with the Indians. And San Diego, they've gone all out, spending big on pitchers like Blake Snell, who was with Tampa Bay in the World Series last year, Yu Darvish from the Cubs, and Joe Musgrove from the Pirates, while free agency's top pitcher Trevor Bauer and top catcher JT Realmuto is still waiting to sign. It's been an interesting free agency, and I mean, we're middle of January, and it's only really starting to heat up now. Obviously, that has to do with COVID and the lack of extra money. I mean, you look at DJ LeMahieu, he probably could have got a shorter deal for more money with another club, but money doesn't seem to be his priority. So he's signed 6 years for just $15 million a year, which, I mean, to us is still crazy.
Yeah, it's still crazy money. But what I can't get is how old is DJ LeMahieu and how old is George Springer? What?
DJ LeMahieu's 32, George Springer's 30.
Okay. Those are long contracts.
Yeah, they're in the prime of their career at the moment. And somebody like LeMahieu, he's not a flash player. He reminds me a lot of actually Derek Jeter. Jeter was never a flash player. He wasn't big on home runs.
No,
he wasn't big on the big.
Oh, he wasn't flashy. He just did everything. Yeah,
exactly the same. If he'd been like George Springer's deal, same year, same length, but his is worth $150 million. So he's getting $10 million a year more than LeMahieu.
Wow.
And Corey Kluber is a great pickup for the Yankees as well. I mean, he's won the Cy Young twice. He's had injury problems the last couple of years. So they've only signed him on a 1-year deal.
The Mets, mate. And the Mets got a new owner. Is that right?
The Mets have got a new owner.
And he's spending a lot of money. I've heard they are absolutely determined to be not the second team in New York anymore.
Quite right.
Yep.
They've picked up some really good players. Adding to their roster, and I mean they've always had a top class pitching staff with Jacob deGrom, who's won the Cy Young a couple of times. Noah Syndergaard, he's out for the season unfortunately with elbow surgery. But adding and they've also got Marcus Stroman, who's a great pitcher as well. So yeah, Mets keen to turn that top team in New York around.
I might have to buy a Mets cap.
The,
just to piss you off.
Some teams have been very quiet. The Los Angeles Dodgers haven't really done much.
Well, they don't need to, do they?
Well, not really.
Probably need to add a little bit here and there, but I mean, come on.
They've got Justin Turner. Their third base. He's a free agent at the moment.
Out of contract, yeah.
He's out of contract, so still waiting to see if they re-sign him. Corey Seager, their shortstop's only got 1 year left before he becomes a free agent.
Wow.
So
there'll be a number of teams in for him if he doesn't sign with them. I'm sure the Yankees will be sniffing around him, mate. I mean, he's a hell of a player, that boy.
Oh, absolutely. And it's there's still some big moves to come in that free agency before the teams start to get together for spring training. MLB has come out and said that spring training will start as normal at the beginning of February.
Okay.
So they'll have beginning to middle of February. So there'll be a couple of weeks before spring training games start, normally at the beginning of March, and then the season starts at the end of March. So
and full season this year.
Planning on a full season. Obviously, still no crowds at this stage.
And they're playing at their home grounds. Every team is going to play at their home ground. It's not like last year at all. Yep.
They haven't come out and said how the finals are going to be set up, because last year, of course, they had double the number of teams with the extra wild card round. So, we've got to wait and see what happens there. But interesting times, and
certainly is.
We'll be keen to see. There's still a few players that are free agents that haven't been picked up yet, like Bauer and Real Muto. I mean, they're both top quality players. So,
all right, we'll keep you posted on those ones.
Mm.
Okay, let's move to the NFL. The conference championship teams have been decided to see who makes the Super Bowl in a few weeks. And the AFC, the Buffalo Bills, make it to the conference finals for the first time since 1993, when that previous 4 years they'd made the Super Bowl 4 years in a row, couldn't win it. So they're back, and they're going to take on the Kansas City Chiefs, who hobbled because Mahomes got concussed in the previous game. So whether he's going to be there, they're sort of up and down. I reckon he'll play. I mean, they can say all they want about, concussion, we take it real seriously. But when it's a game like this, you watch, he'll be playing. While in the NFC game, Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers take on Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I'm just going over our Super Bowl picks from a few months ago. I remember who I picked. Don't remember who you picked. I said the New Orleans Saints would probably play the Baltimore Ravens. Both of them were knocked out in the previous round. Of course, Drew Brees, his final game for New Orleans. He lost to Tom Brady's team. And, of course, Lamar Jackson, who's my favorite player for the Baltimore Ravens. They lost. Who did they lose to? They lost to Buffalo Bills.
The Buffalo Bills.
Buffalo Bills. What I was hoping was that the Buffalo Bills were going to be playing the Browns. I thought, man, that would have been awesome, wouldn't it? The Browns and the Bills, two teams that have just been crap for so long. That'd be like Burnley playing West Brom in a semi-final. But no, who you got anyway, mate? Who you got to make the final?
Well, back then when we did pick them, I had the Chiefs coming out of the AFC. And
okay, so that's still in it?
I had the Seahawks coming out of the NFC, so they've obviously fallen by the wayside. I am going to say that the Kansas City Chiefs are going to make the Super Bowl. I think they're Buffalo Bills.
You'd be hoping that the Mahomes is obviously fit then?
Yeah, I don't know who their backup quarterback is, so I can't really.
He played quite well. I saw him. I can't remember what his name was, but he played bloody well. Played half a game. Played really well.
And I think the Packers will be just too strong for the Buccaneers.
I think so.
The Buccaneers have got Brady and Gronkowski, but I think the Packers all round have got a better team, and I think Aaron Rodgers will outplay Tom Brady in that one. And the Packers Chiefs Super Bowl
that would be a bloody good Super Bowl, actually. The Packers Chiefs. It's quite funny though, because the Buccaneers actually beat the Packers about 4 or 5 weeks ago in regular season, and they beat them quite handily. So, but I think Aaron Rodgers will be up for this one. I really do. I think, he's a future Hall of Famer. He's only won one Super Bowl so far, and I think, the Packers for me as well. For me, I'd like to see the Buffalo Bills make it through. I really would. That'd be like a lovely story. I mean, they've been so consistent all year, and the defensive line is just scary. But I think if Mahomes plays, he's just amazing. I mean, and I would also.
I've got a good friend in the States who actually works. He actually works for the Yankees, but he's worked for a number of NFL teams over the year. But he grew up a Bills fan, and so he's always been a Buffalo Bills fan. So he's just going off his head at the moment about the Buffalo Bills. So Pete Gurgley, go the Bills. Can't see
go
it.
The Bills.
Just for you, go the Bills.
The thing is, I mean, the Buffalo Bills, I mean, they did make 4 Super Bowls in a row. There's a great 30 for 30 on that.
There is,
so many great players, and they just couldn't quite get it over the line. So that'd be really nice and romantic. For me, though, as we say, both our picks, Kansas City, Green Bay, and wouldn't that be nice? One quarterback called Aaron, the other one called Mahomes. I think that's kind of nice for me.
Freaky. Anyway, let's move on to a sport that we don't talk about too much, and we're only really talking about it not for the actual sport. Moving on to tennis. The players have all arrived in Melbourne for the Australian Open, and they're all in managed isolation because half of them had picked up COVID on the plane coming over, and they're acting like absolute spoiled brats. Even normal brat Aussie Nick Kyrgios is having a crack at the likes of Novak Djokovic and fellow countryman Bernard Tomic. What do you make of this?
Well, they're acting like spoiled brats, Macca, because they are. That's what they are. They're used to having everything their own way, having someone wipe their bum and change their shoes and just do everything for them. And now they're having to stay in a hotel room for a couple of weeks. Oh, no, it's so tough. Look, just get a grip, mate. I mean, people have lost their jobs. People have lost their lives. Exactly. And other people are still, suffering the consequences of this pandemic. You have to stay in a hotel room for a couple of weeks and, I can't work on my backhand and I really need to before the tournament. And if I lose in the first round, I only win $100,000. Come on. If you can't do it, piss off back to your own country. Just don't even do it. Why are you complaining?
When Djokovic came out and said, all the players should be put up at mansions with tennis courts so we can practice. I mean, didn't you just host a tournament in your own country where half the players, including yourself, got COVID?
Yep.
Did you not learn your lesson, son? No. And the other thing about Mr. Djokovic is he's an anti-vaxxer. So
I know.
I won't be having the vaccine. What's going to happen when the United States of America or UK or France say, you haven't had the vaccine, you're not coming?
No travel. Yeah, absolutely.
Where's he going to play?
Well, he's not going to.
Have his own tournament in Serbia every year.
Probably. Yeah. The Novak Djokovic, Croatian Open. I don't know, mate. Look, these people just, let's be honest, he probably bases himself in Florida. That's what most of them do, because they don't pay any income tax down there. Yeah, mate, these guys are just, it's really pathetic, mate. They get to travel around the world, live the life of luxury, get paid millions to do it, get adored by millions of people, and the slightest sign of any sort of discomfort and they start squealing like, oh, it's not fair. Well, just think about everyone else, mate.
I think the funniest one was Bernard Tomic's girlfriend complaining because she had to wash her own hair.
Oh no, really?
Own hair?
Did you see that other? I can't remember. One of the girls said, "There's a mouse in here." You see that? She's videoed a mouse.
And I'm like, instead of it as a pet.
Yeah. Why are you videoing it? Why don't you catch it and throw it out? I mean, mate,
anyway,
honestly.
Enough about that. Another sport we don't talk a lot about is America's Cup. And I'm only really talking about it because of American Magic's stunning capsize last weekend in the race. I don't even know who they were racing. That shows you how interested I am in it. But what an amazing capsize.
Yeah, it was cool. They were traveling real fast and the boat went over and they were all in the water, Macca. That's about the extent of the America's Cup that I've watched too, mate.
Yeah.
Listen, there was NFL on, there was Test cricket from 2 nations, and there was something else on, and then there was the America's Cup. Sorry, I ain't watching the America's Cup when there's that other sport on, mate. It's a rich man's sport. The capsize it looked amazing, yes, but I mean, look, once again, it's a bit like the Super Rugby, mate. It's not really a real comp if you've only got 4 or 5 teams for me.
Oh yeah, and the thing about that is there's only going to be
3 now without that.
It's down to 3.
I know.
And then American Magic, they're not going to be racing this weekend, but the 2 boats, what are they? Luna Ross,
British one,
and the English boat.
Yeah,
they have to. They still have to go out and cross the start line to get.
That's right. Yeah.
Even though American Magic's still shit.
I think they actually have to finish the course.
Yeah.
They have to cross the finish line.
That's
right.
They
have to sail around, and within a certain period of time. So they can't just go out there with mum and dad on the back and say, "Oh, just sail around there." No, look, the boats look amazing. It does look cool and all that, but for me, it just doesn't interest me. For a start, it's not a New Zealand team. It's not a New Zealand team. Why are we kidding ourselves? There's Americans on board that boat for us as well, and Australians, and it's called Emirates. I mean, last I checked, there wasn't a city called Emirates in New Zealand. So, mate, I'm sorry, I just can't. It just doesn't do it for me.
No, me neither.
But
let's go back to KZ7 and Chris.
Absolutely, Dixon. The Plastic Fantastics, and when we had Dennis Conner, it was always good just to rub it in his face and get off the stage. The stage is for winners. You're a loser. What is it? What did he say? He said, we're sailing a cat. You're sailing a dog. I was just like, what a dick. Yeah, I love Dennis Conner.
Good stuff. All in the history books.
Absolutely.
Anyway, on to some Olympic news. Nick Willis appears to be on track for another crack at the 1500 after breaking John Walker's record of recording a sub 4-minute mile for 19 consecutive years.
Wow.
That's longevity.
How did he do that? Did he do it on a treadmill? Honestly, where did he do? Did he break the record again this year? Where are they actually right? Where are they doing that? Where did he break it?
I think he's actually based in New Zealand at the moment.
So he did it here
at a track meet somewhere here.
Ah, okay.
Back in the States.
Yeah, that's great. No, but wait, what? When this guy first appeared, we sort of like skinny, we didn't think much. I just thought, he's just going to be making up the numbers along with all our middle distance runners, won't he? But at 2 Olympics, he's done absolutely amazingly well. Yeah. He was shafted out of a medal because of drugs, cheats, and all that sort of stuff. There's still suspicion over the gold medalist of that run, by the way, in 2008. And last time, I mean, he never does us bad, does he, Nick Willis?
No.
Always competes well. Florida.
Yeah.
Wow. See, that's the thing. Florida's still open. Don't worry about COVID in Florida. Come to Florida. Yeah. So Nick Willis, like you say, 19 consecutive years breaking that record. That's phenomenal. And how old is he now?
37.
37. See, mid-30s is probably, peak time. So he's probably a little bit beyond his peak. But
prime for those type.
Go to the Olympics again, mate. Go and do it. Make us proud.
Well, talking about that, Tokyo reckons they're ready for the games this year. But will a certain pandemic get in the way? If so, will the games be cancelled for the first time since the Second World War?
Well, along with Euro 2020, I'm sorry, any jock mates that I have that finally made a championship. I think Euro 2020 and the Tokyo Olympics have to be cancelled. I just think what's going on with the pandemic at the moment, there's this new strain. It's hyper virulent. It's spreading around the world. There's more people dying of it than ever before. We thought, we'll put it on to next year. It'll be better next year. It's not better. Yeah. It's actually kind of worse right now. So, and then what would make it worse? People coming from all around the globe, 250 countries, and all meeting somewhere from different countries. That can't be good. That can't be good for COVID. It's not going to end well. Yeah. I'm afraid what they perhaps could do is say, okay, well, 2024 is now going to be Tokyo. and just push it out, because they've got all the infrastructure there. It's not really fair that they miss out. So maybe 2024 Tokyo. And who's got it in 2024? I can't remember.
Los Angeles.
Los Angeles. Well, then they can have it in 2028. You know what I mean? Just push it all out another 4 years. So I know it's unfortunate for all those athletes that train for their whole lifetime but that's just the way it is. I mean, the same thing happened to our athletes in 1980 when there was a boycott, didn't they? They missed out. They couldn't go. It's just the way it is. It's sad, but generally life comes before sport. And
exactly. And I mean, to have an Olympics behind closed doors sort of defeats the purpose of having the Olympics.
Absolutely. And then they're bringing in stupid sports anyway, where I don't think they get anyone watching it anyway. Ballroom dancing and stuff like that. I mean, that's another argument altogether. I think we discussed that before, those sorts of sports. That's one thing they could do if they really thought that they did have a problem with too many people going. Just cut it down and make it a real basic Olympics and just base it all around athletics. But they won't do that either, will they, Macca? Because it's all about the Benjamins.
Quite right. All about the Benjamins.
Yeah, mate. Yeah.
Oh, well, on that note, we've survived the new year, turning of the new year.
We've survived watching Liverpool again, only just. The noise I was making from the lounge, the wife came out and said, "What's going on? Is someone dying out here?" I said, "Yep, Liverpool." Yeah. Oh, it's just absolutely terrible. By this time next week, hopefully we've scored a goal. That's all I want. Liverpool to score a goal.
Well, we've got the Manx in the FA Cup on the weekend, so who knows how we'll approach that? Will we put the B team out, or will we go all or nothing? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see what happens.
We will.
Good to see your smiling face again, Mahona.
Great to see you too, mate. Great to see you too. I hope to see you in the flesh at some time this year too, man, at some stage,
Absolutely.
Beautiful.
So there we go. Volume 2, issue 1, or podcast 1 is in the books. So we'll be back in a week or so with another Hot Air Sports podcast. Until then, get on the YouTube, watch the podcast, drop us a like,
make a comment,
drop a comment,
make a comment about Macca's fat head or something.
Quite right. So it's good afternoon from me,
and it's good morning from him. Good night.